The message I bring you this morning is entitled, "The Lord Has Need of It." And that's from the 11th chapter of the book of Mark. Now, I'd like you to take your Bibles in hand because I would like us to juice some nutritious juice from this passage. Mark chapter 11. So I want you to get in the Word, whether electronic or hard copy, to Mark chapter 11. And we're going to be looking at the first 11 verses. Sister Ellis read it for us before, but now I want you to follow through, and I want you to understand what I'm going to say. Those of you who are going to go to Israel, I'm going to take you to Bethpage. I'm going to take you to Olivet. I'm going to take you to Bethany. The Mount of Olives is where we are going to end our journey. That's where Jesus left for heaven. So if you don't see some of us come back, we'll be gone. Now, when they drew near Jerusalem to Bethpage and Bethany, the Mount of Olives, he sent two of his disciples and said to them, "Go into the village opposite you, and as soon as you have entered it, you will find an ass, a colt, a donkey, on which no one has ridden before. Loose it and bring it to me." Direct instructions from God. When God gives an instruction, we need to stop, look, listen, and follow. And God gave them a rider on that. He said, "You go. And if anyone say to you, 'Why are you doing this?' say to them, 'The Lord has need of it.'" That's where I get my topic today. And when he said that, immediately he will send it here. This is one of the biggest moments in the life and ministry of Jesus. The story of the triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is the center of the culture of the time, the center of religion, the center of economics. Really, Jerusalem was the New York of the then world, the center of the world. We here in New York are accustomed to Macy's Parade, a big day on the calendar. Now they have come up with a new parade that is not worth parading. And I believe, listen to me, I believe that if gays can have pride to parade their gayness, as a Christian, I should have pride to parade my Lord. This was parade day for Jesus. When President Trump is going anywhere, they prepare for him multiple black escalades. Some of them are decoys. But that day, they prepared for Jesus an Escalade without combustion engine. They prepared for him, or he prepared for himself, really, a donkey. A donkey. By the way, as I was looking over the passage and preparing the word, I chose Mark's version of the story because all synoptic gospels carry the story, but Mark has a component that is different from all the rest. Mark tells the story, and the donkey takes up half the story. The donkey. Now, I don't know if you have ever ridden on a donkey. If you haven't, you have had no adventure in life. In my childhood, we had 2 donkeys in our garage. That made me middle class. Donkeys are special beasts of burdens. Donkeys are very compliant. I'm going to tell you a few things about donkey because I told you we had 2. And my favorite of the 2, Vida, was one that was called Jeanette. Jeanette was a very special donkey, very compliant, never complained. I would ride Jeanette from my house to Black River, which was 8 miles away. She got me there on time, she brought me back home on time, and she never complained. I tell you something else about Jeanette. Jeanette was the only donkey I know that ever had twin. I've never seen or heard of another one, but Jeanette was so blessed that Jeanette had twins. And when Jeanette died, I cried. You cry for your dog? I cried for Jeanette. Because I got service out of Jeanette. For the rest of you who don't know about donkeys, wake her up. She needs to hear about donkey. Sit up, sit up. You folks are too modern. Donkeys are noted to be disease resistant because they have been blessed by God. That is why in the countryside where farmers rear other animals, they usually turn out a donkey with the animal because the donkeys cause disease not to affect the other animals. Donkeys don't die from disease, they die from other complications of other things. You can check the vets. They are blessed animals. So when Jesus was seeking to make his triumphant entry, he chose a donkey. Let me look back at my notes here. Donkeys live very long, up to 30 animal years. They are very human friendly. And listen to this now, Pastor Daly. They are vegetarians. They eat low sugar and high fiber. And they usually grow tall. all. And since Cordelia started it, I'm going to continue it. They grow to up to 5 feet 2 inches. That gives them same height like Nigel. So here is Jesus, the crowd surrounding him. A big moment is coming for him. They are going to find the King, the Messiah, the Deliverer. They are going to make it a ceremonial pageant. And so he told them, go in the village. And as soon as you enter, you will find a colt tied there. Now, we're not going to run over this for time. I want you to answer 2 questions with me. One is, why does Jesus need a donkey and not a horse? I understand the greatest horse breeder and owner in the world is Queen Elizabeth. And they have the annual horse day. Why not a horse? And number 2, why does he get it in such an unusual way? It shows us something that we might have missed. It challenges you and me in how you and I respond to Jesus. And sometimes, friends, animals respond better to their master than how we respond to our master. I have even read in scripture of where an ass saw an angel, and we don't have time to see Jesus. So why does he need the donkey? God's people have been praying earnestly for 100 years. They have been under the boot of Rome. They have no king because the enemy Roman army is occupying the country and will not let them have a king. So that king of Israel had too much power, so the Romans abolished that position and they put in place a governor. They want no more king, they want a governor. And the Jews became the puppet state and they resented that. So they have been begging God. God, your ancient prophet said a new king would come. He's going to come to free his people. You read it in Zechariah 14:4 that he will deliver and he will stand on the Mount of Olives east in Jerusalem. That's where he'll appear from. And then Zechariah 9 verse 9 says, rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. See your king coming to you, righteous and victorious, lowly and riding on a donkey. That was years before in the prophecy of Zechariah that Jesus would come riding on a donkey, on a colt, on a foal. Now, those of you who don't know the donkey business, let me tell you who a colt and a foal is. A colt and a foal is an untried donkey, a virgin donkey. One that has not been broken in yet. The female of the species. Jesus was going to come riding on a donkey years ago. Perhaps if my then girlfriend had seen me as a donkey riding boy, she wouldn't have anything to do with me because she loved Escalade. But I take pride in the fact that I have written on what Jesus wrote. The Bible said he would come lowly and holy. Jesus was a humble guy. I like humble people. My grandmother used to say of people who are haughty, they drop boof. Right? You don't know what that means in America. But when you're humble, you can walk with your God, and you can walk with kings and don't lose the common touch. There's an argument for humility. Jesus did some of the humblest thing in his life. He went to the feet of his inferiors and washed their feet so they could become one with each other. They should be washing his feet. He was washing their feet. And here we have the lowly Jesus riding on a donkey. So when this prophet from up north started this 2-mile inauguration day parade right in the heart of Jerusalem, he came down from the Mounts of Olives, but he came down riding on a donkey. By the way, when Solomon was inaugurated as king, King Solomon with all his riches came riding on a donkey. He had wealth, he had money, but he rode on a donkey. Jesus had nothing. He said the sparrows had a roost, but I, the Son of God, had nowhere to lay my head. But he came riding on a donkey. Don't miss this moment. Everybody knew that God has finally sent this new king. The people were so happy. They took off their clothes, their jackets. They put it on the road. So the hoof of this untried donkey. Back to donkey's story. When we were growing up in the country, because the roads were so bad, elder, there were stones that would destroy the hoofs of the donkey. They had a way of putting something, shoe, at the foot of the donkey. Yes, a piece of iron to cause their feet not to be destroyed. And so that their feet are not destroyed, their hoofs are not torn. The donkey carrying the new king was walking on the people's clothes. They took palm leaves and they laid it across the street to make an easy path because the King of Glory had come, and they were shouting on top of their lungs, Hosanna in the highest, Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. They were excited. Well, of course, the Romans clearly get the idea. Now that Jesus is king, they got it. They didn't want to embrace it, but they learned it because 5 days later they killed him. And guess what they did? They put the charge on a piece of plywood above his head. And you know what they said? Hail, King of the Jews. In mockery. But they embraced the idea that he was king. Politics hasn't changed much. They killed the king, assassinated the king. Now here's something that you must not rush past. All of Jesus' life, he was walking. That's a great health nugget, Sister Strong. People don't walk again. They don't want to walk. That's why we're not living as long as we used to. All Jesus' life, he walked. Long distance. He walked everywhere. Do you know why? He was too poor to pay Uber. He was too poor to buy a car. He was even too poor to own a donkey. And so he had to borrow. I have a philosophy in life that there's one of three ways to get things: beg, borrow, or buy. And I like that order: beg, borrow, buy last. Beg, buy, borrow. The three B's. BBB. So he borrowed the donkey. Two reasons. Number one, he was too poor to own one. And number two, Jesus is always on point with prophecy. Zechariah said he would come riding on a donkey. When the fullness of time was fully come, Jesus came. And he came to where the prophecies said he would come. Everything about Jesus is on point. Everything about Jesus is trustworthy. The King of Glory is coming to deliver God's people. And he needed a donkey. If Jesus needs something today to carry out his plan and to fulfill his mission, would you allow him or would you hinder him? Bite on that. So he said the donkey. Now how does he get it? If Jesus were living in my time, they would surely kill him quicker. Jesus came to Bethpage and to Bethany on the Mount of Olives, and Jesus sent two of his disciples. He endangered his disciple for my deliverance. And he pulled them aside and said, hey guys, I'm going to give you some instructions. Follow me now. Go into that village. Do you notice the specificity about God? He never said, keep a day holy. He tells us which day to keep. He didn't say, give me some money at worship. He tells me that whatever you have, 10% of it belongs to me. Isn't that the God we serve? A God of specificity. Go to the village ahead of you. Had they gone anywhere else, it would be in violation of the King of Glory. Now listen to me, folks. When the King of Glory speaks to you, whatsoever he says unto you, do it. Do it. When Jesus tells you anything, he's not seeking an argument. He's not seeking a discussion. He's seeking compliance. Just do it. My finite mind cannot understand the immensity of infinity, but I can trust him and I can obey him because it is sweet to trust in Jesus and it is sweet to trust his word. So go to that village. Find a colt tied up there on which no one has ever ridden. Now, I'm reading the text, and I'm sitting down on my bed, reading the text, and I'm saying, Jesus is really the omnipresent one, the omniscient one, the omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, immutable one. I could stack words upon words. That's God. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's because you really can't. Because you can't understand God. Canst thou by searching find out God? No searching of his understanding. That village, that colt. I hear you asking me a question, and I'm glad you did. How did God know that the colt was there? How did God know that the colt was tied? Because he's God. How did he know that nobody has ever written him? Because he's God. Then he said to them, if that's not strange to you, he said to them, when you go there and you spot that colt, untie it. You listen to the specificities of the thing. You go there, you will see the colt. The colt, you must untie it, and then you must do what? Bring it to me. And if anybody asks you any question, tell them that I have need of it. Now, if I were one of those disciples, I would say, sure, Lord. Don't you think those guys would beat me up for pre-their larceny? Theft, grand larceny. I told you before that donkeys to those people was like having a Benz in their garage. A brand new Benz. One just left the dealership. Smell good, look good, crisp. No miles on the clock. And you want to tell me that I go down to a dealership and buy myself a brand new car and come home and park it in my garage, and my neighbor is going to come and tell me, I have need of your car, may I have the keys, please? Or they come over while I'm sleeping and push out my brand new BMW. Listen, if I buy my car, not even my wife is getting around the steering before me. I have to get the first drive. And my horse is there. And a stranger from Galilee, a stranger, is going to send 2 men to ask for it. So you go. Don't be afraid. I've got to tell you this morning. Something else that struck my mind while I was thinking of this thing. And that is, let me see what I wrote here. Jesus desires your best. Give of your best to the Master. Give him your loyal devotion. Give of your best to the Master. Anything that you sacrifice for in the name of Jesus, he will give it back to you. Do I have a witness here? He will give it back to you. I have nothing too good to give for the cause of God. Are you hearing me? I will never retard the cause of God because of my selfishness. When I return my tithes and my offering, I don't think about any bill that I have on my table. If I give to God, God is going to take care of me. And he will not tell anybody. If I come and beg you to pay my light bill, next week I hear how broke pastor is. I had to pay his light bill for him. The world will know it, but when I give to God, I was telling my mother-in-law last night that one evening I had no money to buy gas to go to church the next day. So we decided to have church at home. And I had a gathering to go promote, places to go, things to do. But it was the 23rd of May, and we get paid on the 25th. And I had more month at the end of my last salary than salary at the end of the month. And we were at home the Friday evening, getting ready for Sabbath, knowing we were going to worship at home the next day. And we were too proud to beg anybody a borrow. And the mailman came. And letters came. And I hurried to go through the letters before sunset as a good Adventist. And I saw this letter handwritten. Open the letter. When I opened the letter, in the envelope, there was a one sentence letter. Thanks for your hospitality to us. And as I'm speaking to you today, I don't know who the us was. But $400 was in the envelope. So I could go to the supermarket quick before sunset. I could fill up my tank quick before sunset. And Sabbath, I was all over the district, 13 churches. So I know God has my interests at heart. And when I run out, I have come to the end of my resource. I'm at the beginning of God. And if God has need of anything that you have, give it to him. No matter how new it is, give it to him. That's the key to open up your lock. Faith is the key. So they went out and they found the colt tied to a doorway. And they began to untie it. And just as you would expect, there is always somebody. There is no clean crime. There was some camera somewhere around, neighborhood watch, and somebody saw the two out-of-town men. And they knew long ago, if you see something, say something. Because these two strange out-of-town men just walk into the men's property and begin to loose the colt. And true to form, just as what Jesus told them happened, they went over and said, "Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing with the man donkey?" And the two men, trembling with fear, said, "The Lord has need of it." And as they heard that, they back. The Lord has need of it. Now, some commentators say that Jesus had gone the night before to spy out the land, and they said he had gone around and saw where the man tied the donkey. But Jesus is not like a common thief. I want to tell you today that Jesus knows the details of our lives. He knows where you live, he knows what you have, and he knows what you don't have. But whatever you have, give it to him if he needs it. If all that you have in your hand is a rod, give it to Jesus. If you have is a staff, a pebble, a jawbone, some sprat and bread, give it to Jesus. He can use what you have to carry out his will. And listen to me, he can very well do without us, but when he wants a miracle to happen in our lives, he participates with us in the action. God does not believe in freeloading and handouts and welfare. There are some people in this country from the day they were born, they are on welfare, food stamp, WIC. Some people know every trick in the book to get every dollar out of the government. And you and I have to work to feed them. They're still waiting for the donkey and land. And when you come here and buy Escalade, when you buy your donkey and they are walking, they grudge you. But let me tell you something I have found as an Adventist. I might not die rich because I don't save down here. My saving is not down here. You know what I did when I went to Long Island? I tell you this, there are 5 banks where I am. 5 banks. Let me tell you how rich I am. And I distribute all my wealth in the 5 banks. So my name is in every bank in where I live in Massapequa. 5 of them. So, Mom, if anything happened to me, my name is in 5 banks out there. One of them, I checked it the other day, $23. One, and growing, and I won't tell you the last one. But my name is in every bank. I don't have much. Houses are land. Silver are gold. But look at me. I feel rich. I feel good. I feel bossy. Because I'm a child of the King. And whatever I need, he says that I will supply. And when I give up the best of my service, and when I help people, I always find that God helps me. The Lord have need of it. And the people let them go. The people, the Bible didn't say the people let the donkey go. It let them go. Because what is stated and not stated speaks louder than what is stated. Because were it not for the fact that the Lord had need of it, if they were just stealing a donkey, they would be done. But when they heard the name of the Lord, oh boy, they went and they lived. So when Jesus speaks to you, my friend, and say, I am the Lord and I have need of you, make yourself available. Now I want to tell the Grand Concourse people that the Lord has need of you. And when he gets you, he gets all you have. Nobody heard that? When the story is told of a Chinaman, a Chinese man, who was coming from Jamaica in the bad days of Manley's government. And he was coming through the Norman Manley airport, and the Chinese were targets. So they started to search him. They look in his attaché case. They look under his socks. They let him take his foot out his shoes. They searched everything he had. And he stood up and allowed the search. And when they were through, they told him he could go. And he looked at them and said, you think Chinaman fool? Chinaman a fool. Money gone ahead. Let me tell you something. I ain't no fool either. All I have has gone ahead. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the sky, and I can't feel at home in this world anymore. When you give to Jesus, Brother Anthony, your money's gone ahead. And some people die and leave it down here. And leave and leave family to fight over it, because where there's a will, there's a lot of greedy relatives, a lot of war. Let me tell you something. Whatever you have, use it in the service of God. Are you hearing me? This church must never have raffles and bingos and things to be out there with hands stretched out begging. God has blessed you, bless others. Are you hearing me? Bless the church. I was just thinking out loudly the other day. Can I bear with you? I was just thinking out loudly the other day that if I had gone into politics, which is a good place I could go, because I think I could get some votes. I could have gone. I thought of some other places I could have gone and have money. But maybe I would be dead. Maybe I would be miserable. Maybe my soul would be imperiled. But I feel so happy in the service of God. I went to the doctor last month for what they call profile, check out myself, and they check out everything, draw out every blood out my body, check up, and the doctor tell me the other day that the result come back, and I'm good. He said, you are right, nothing, no high blood pressure, no diabetes, no nothing. That's blessing. You call it blessing? I don't have it in a bank in Massapequa, but I have it in health. That's your wealth. You know how old me be, man? You know how old me be? Me old. I'm inching towards 100. And the doctor say I'm all right. But more than that, I want to know that my soul is right with God. That I'm in partnership with God. Yes. I soon be done. The Lord has need of it. God has what we call eminent domain. Did you know that if the state of New York, if the city of New York, if Bronx Council decides tomorrow that they are going to have need of this corner lot for commercial enterprises, and they vote at their council that we have to move, we have to move. It's called the Law of Eminent Domain. The same thing can happen to your house. If you don't pay your taxes, they can sell your house for a penny. They call it the Law of Eminent Domain. What we have is not ours. And I learned that when I bought real estate, because on the title it says there's a disclaimer at the bottom that tells you that you are a leaseholder. As long as you fulfill the terms and requirement of the state, you are free to occupy without any problem. But if the government say you've got to go, you've got to go. Did I just frighten you? Well, let me tell you something. Jesus has eminent domain. How do I know that? It's in the statutes. Here's what he said. Nothing is yours. Not your house, not your land, because he says in the statutes, go look it up, statutes number 24, paragraph 1, volume, Psalms. He says, the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell in him belongs to God. Are you hearing me out there? Here's something else. Those of you who have money, stock up. And some of the people you think don't have money, it's them have it, you know. Yes, man. Don't measure a man's money by his face or his looks. Just a few months ago, a homeless man in Montego Bay, Jamaica, took sick. They took him to the hospital. He was living in a little shack. And when they went in the shack to take out his thing, they found that he had more money there that the Bank of Nova Scotia could borrow. Yeah. Jesus says, your money, which is being devalued, he said, the silver and the gold is mine. Your animals, the cattle on 1,000 hills are mine. He said, you are not even yours. You belong to me. You have been bought with a what? Price. You're not your own. Therefore, glorify God in your body. I've got eminent domain. So the little donkey you're talking about, I own it. I have the right to demand what I want because I have executive power. I am God, and there is none like me. And hey, he says, whatever I take from you, I can give it back to you. I have the right to command. I have the right to return. I can give you back 100-fold. I can give you back 10-fold. I can give you back immeasurably beyond what you have. And I want my believers to know that when you invest in the cause of God, it's like a magic penny. It will come right back to you. Pastor, going to dress? I'm going to bring it down now. The Lord say, I have need of it. Because when we hear that, it should stop us in our tracks. It should sober us up. And you're going to ask me as a smart aleck, how is it the Lord has everything and want what I have? You said every animal of the forest is mine. If I were hungry, I wouldn't tell you. For the world is mine and all that in it. He has need of nothing. Yeah, he's the Lord. But over and above the things you have, do you know what the Lord needs most of you? He needs you. He needs you. Oh, listen to me, listen to me. Let me whisper this to you. Don't be so full of yourself that God can't even get a chance to talk to you. Don't be so self-dependent that you have no need of God. I have seen God cut some big men down to size. Are you hearing me? Don't wait till you get sick to be calling for God. When you're healthy and well, give him what you have. The Lord has need of you. You think so much of yourself that you don't have time for him. Too busy. If you are too busy for God, you are too busy. You want the fantastic things in life. You want your nice car. And there's nobody who likes cars, good cars, and nice homes like Caribbean people. They'll work 2 jobs, 3 jobs to get what they want, to get what they can, and to can what they get, and they work so hard to become the richest bodies in the cemetery. And have no time for God. God is sending a message to you today. Go down to 1275. You will see some people there who need me. Tell them I have need of them. It's not about your time. It's not about your money. It's not about your saving. It's not about your pride. It's not about your popularity. It's about your relationship with Jesus. It's about your worship. Open your heart to God because he has need of you. And whatever God takes from you, you notice that he said he will return it. Just bring me the horse. After the ride, I will return it. And when God gets on your horse, when God gets on your donkey, he will bless it. Your donkey will... listen, when I was out in the islands, not here. When I was out in the islands, man, I used to have some car. I used to pack them with people. I used to break the law to carry people to church, to carry people to crusade. And then one day I bought myself, for the first time in my life, I bought myself a new car. Man, the smell was nice. You know the smell of a new car? The car was nice. The dashboard, Brother Ricky, the dashboard was nice. Shining. Yeah. The mats were pristine. That I put plastic over them, man. And I decided, well, this is an investment too great to pack up. And I robbed myself of some blessings because my focus was on the car. And I was driving my brand new Toyota Corolla, imported from Miami, Florida. Wow. When I walk around and see anything on it, and when I see people lean up, I say, hey. When I see the children getting close to it, I say, hey guys, back off. My car became my obsession. And one day I was going down to Lucy and was driving and sleeping. I was tired. And I only heard when it stopped itself. And when I came out, my heart was broken to see. And I walked around and looked at it and said, why did you do that to me? It was gone, broken, and they came and write it off. Listen to me. The things you hold on to here will be written off. But when you hold on to Jesus, you have nothing to lose. Does that make sense? What you hold on to, your vintage, your souvenirs. Listen, those nice things you have at home in your break front that you never use from you buy them. You just buy them for decoration. And you have them there, man. Break front pretty. The break front gonna break one day. And everything you have will go up in fire one day. But when you lose all those things, you have not lost anything if you give Jesus your heart, because he says, I've got need of you. Give it to Jesus. The treasurer has a hard time writing checks to pay bills because there are no funds. What a thing. If one person can take care of their house so well, don't you think that all of us put together can take care of God's house better? I can't finish the story today. But if you have a donkey and Jesus needs it, give him. I was out at a place called, I'm just waiting for Pastor to get in the pool. I was out in a place called Anchovy, St. James. I can say this publicly. I was out in Anchovy, St. James. Had a fantastic evangelistic series out there. And 340 people were baptized in that meeting. And so we decided we were going to start a church. And I can say it publicly. My friends, the Baptists, decided that no Adventist is coming in that neighborhood. Are you listening to me? And one morning, it was common knowledge. They had business meeting. They talk about it. We tried to use the schoolroom. The chairman was Baptist, so he said no. And all of that. So we put up a little tent and we were worshiping under the tent. And one morning, very early in the morning, I heard my doorbell ringing. When I went and looked, it was a little old lady. What in the world is she doing at the wrong door early morning? I thought. So I opened the door, look, I didn't see anybody with him. I said, good morning. And she said, are you Pastor Robinson? Yes, I'm Pastor Robinson. Yeah, I need to see you. And I have to make it early before them see me. And I said, what happened? Come on in. I brought her in because I know she couldn't hurt me. She said, I'm from the Baptist church. And we had members meeting the other night. And the pastor tell us that we must block the Adventists. And I don't think they should do that. Me vex. And I know a man that has a piece of land selling. But he is Baptist too. And if you go to buy it, you're not going to get it. So if you have the money, give it to me and let me buy it and turn it over to you. It's a good thing they never popularized scam. And I said, true. And she said, yeah. And she told me all the story and the fine details of the business meeting, like some of you do when we have ours. And I said, how much is the land? She said, the man said he will take $100,000 for it. And it's an acre. And it's good land, sir. And she described the land to me, and she told me where the land is and all of that. And she said, you can pay down something. If you give him a 10, he's a little rumhead. He will take the 10 and take the rest later. So I said, all right. I will think about it and come back to you. Got all her details. Met the evening with my little board just put together. And they knew the lady. And they said, trust her, Pastor. Trust her. But then, we had a concert to close the crusade and made $5,000. That's all we had, $100,000. So as we discussed the night and talked, we said, but how are we going to get the money? They said, ask the conference. Went up to the conference said they don't have, as they usually say, we have no money. And we told them the story, and they look at me, and you know what they gave me? Prior. But the man wouldn't take that as down payment. So I called back my little group together, and I told them, and a little old man in the group said, Pastor, how much is the land? And I said, almost afraid to tell him not to give him a heart attack. I said, they want $100,000. Hey, Pastor, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. Brethren, that's what we hear, trying to find $100,000. Meet me at the bank tomorrow and let me give you the money. And I'm looking at him and I'm wondering, where he going to get money? Why are these people taking me for a joke? I tell you the truth, I didn't even go to the bank the next morning, but I had a phone at home, and I was at home doing my chores when the phone rang. I said, Pastor, I'm here, what time you coming? I said, coming soon. Get it till I come. When I went down the bank, the man had $100,000 cash to give to me. God has marvelous ways. We bought the property cash. And the bad thing is that the conference get the title. Cash! We bought the land cash. Buy the land cash. And God bless that man. I saw him multiply. I saw him grow. You know he's still alive. I have left there now 20. I left there. Do the maths, 1985. That's a lot of years. And he was old when I was there. And he's still alive. Still going to church, still alive. God has blessed him. Let me tell you something, Brother Anthony and Sister Anthony. When you give of your best to the master's service, you will never beg bread. Did you hear me, Carla? You will never beg bread. I'm a weakness. Do we have a weakness? And I'm going to stop when Pastor gets in the pool. Oh, he's there. I'm done. But whatever the Lord asks you for and say, I have need of it, what must you do? Give it to him. What must you do? Give it to him. Give and give and give. And the Lord wants to bless you right now. You see, the longer you let me take to preach is the longer I preach, because I haven't been up here for a long time. But I am done. Can the Lord have you? Say yeah. Can the Lord have you? Yeah. Father, thank you that little is much in your hand. And I pray your blessing upon all those who sacrifice for your cause. And today we crown you King of Kings and Lord of Lords. We shout Hosanna in the highest. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And the people say, Amen. Amen.